Welcome to the Wake Up Call for the Soul podcast with Bill and Claire, where we go deep and wide on subjects intended to support our awakening to greater truth, beauty, goodness, freedom, joy, peace, harmony, and love. It's been a little while since we chatted.
It has been, yes.
Yeah, so I'm so glad for us to be back in the saddle. Since it's been a while since we chatted, what's been up for you lately? What things would you like to share with me and or with our listeners?
Yeah, I have been noticing that I've been feeling really angry lately. And I feel like instead of wanting to be around people, because that's kind of, whenever I'm really struggling, I tend to want to be like with people. And this time around, I'm thinking like, man, I really just feel like I need to be alone outside with nature, not talk to anyone. I'm angry. I feel dysregulated. And that's kind of been my experience lately. And I'm kind of just flowing with it, letting it be. I'm not mad about it, but it is an interesting thing to notice.
I thought it was interesting you talking about being mad about being angry.
Sometimes I am.
Yeah, but isn't that what we do a lot of times? We experience a feeling, a challenge, a disruption, something that's unpleasant or unenjoyable. And then what we do is we add insult to injury. We
Hmm.
then judge or, as you said, get mad or angry, in this case, about being angry. So I think that's wonderful that you're doing your best to not heap it on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Put
that's the hope.
more gasoline on that angry fire that's burning there. And I think it's interesting too how you feel this need. It sounds like you tend to go out, you reach out to people, you connect with people when you're feeling challenged, but at this particular time, you're actually feeling the need to withdraw, to kind of pull back from those relationships, but you are engaging in a different kind of relationship with nature, with yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And nature is awesome for decharging these kinds of things. What you're doing makes perfect sense to me. Do you find that it's being helpful for you?
I do. I used to be resistant to hanging out with nature because I thought that it was kind of, I don't know, a little too woo-woo for me. And I thought that, oh, what can it really offer? Like, what is this actually doing? And then I gave it a go and I was like, hey, you know what? This is actually working. And so I think I recommend people try it at least a couple of times just to see if it can help a little bit. And I will say, like, it was nice. I have this tree. I'm visiting my parents right now in our backyard, and I planted it when I was in, I think, like kindergarten on Earth Day. It's a sycamore tree. And I went out and I just like, I looked at it and I was feeling the bark, and I realized how large it had gotten over these years. And I just kind of had never, like, it made me realize how little attention I was paying to nature, that like it got so big without me even realizing it. And I think it's cool that also like we were growing together for all those years. And it was just nice to kind of come back to that and think about that and see it in person. Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we've been trained and socialized to focus so much on our relationships with other people that we haven't really been encouraged and supported to build those relationships within ourselves,
Hmm.
with ourselves, and then also our relationships with others in the form of earth, nature, plants, trees, rocks, soil, air, water, creation and its wholeness and all of the diversity and vastness of it. And yeah, it's these relationships that we've neglected or ignored because we didn't have really strong models for engaging in those relationships, in listening and paying attention. So, yeah, I really appreciate your expressions and your experiences that way. And so, are you finding that nature is helping you to decharge this anger, these disharmonious feelings?
I think it did. I think it was helping with some of the anxiety. The problem I've run into is I've been having some medical treatments, and when I come home, I'm really tired and I end up sleeping a lot. And then by the time I feel like I want to go outside, it's like it's already dark. And I mean, I can go outside when it's dark, it's just sometimes I don't want to. And so I think I need to spend some more time out there during the day when I can and just kind of be still, because that's just what I feel like I'm being drawn towards right now. And again, that used to be something that I would resist. Like if I heard someone say that, I'd be like, okay, what do you mean by that? Like that's kind of weird. And I think I'm starting to kind of get it now, maybe.
Yeah, and these energies that are pouring onto the planet, the things that I'm finding most helpful for myself have been time by myself, just being, not doing anything, not even in some cases engaging in my practice, which sometimes in these energies can be very overstimulating. So that's a big one, just being. And another one is spending time in nature, grounding, touching the earth, touching trees and life. Yeah, I feel that that's really important because these energies, what they're doing, they're pouring onto the planet and they're part of this transition that we're going through. They're supporting this transition. And what they're doing is they are amplifying everything.
Hmm.
So if something is awful, it's a gazillion times more awful. And if something is awesome, it's a gazillion times more awesome. And that's really the key to understanding this particular wave or movement of energies into the planet, into and through humanity at this point, is that what they're doing is they are perfectly designed to help increase our awareness of what is actually going on within us, in particular, those things that are out of harmony, that are calling out for healing and release, and then those things that are calling for even more amplification, for more growth and development. And knowing that for myself, I find to be really helpful. And I don't know many people in the world who know that this is happening right now.
Hmm.
And I wonder how anyone is getting by without understanding that, without knowing that we are in unusual times, energetically
Right.
speaking. It just blows my mind that there are people who are in some way functioning without a knowledge that this is actually happening. Because if I
Right.
didn't know that, I would think I was going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that because honestly, you were kind of the person who introduced me to that idea. And since kind of starting to get on board with that, um, it has been really validating and it makes me feel less alone and also like I don't judge myself as much because I would always blame myself for everything. And now sometimes I look at it and I'm like, okay, like there are some really funky things going on. And I have control of what I can control, but I can't control everything. And realizing that sometimes things are going to affect me differently than maybe what I would expect them to. It's kind of helped me see things differently, calm down a little bit, and honestly, like ultimately kind of just keep moving forward.
We're all unique. Each of us has our own unique perceptions and sensitivities. And that's part of what's happening in the world now, too, is that these energies are helping to reveal those differences. Things that bother other people don't bother us, or vice versa. And it's really obvious to us now. We can see what's going on with other people as opposed to ourselves, or what's happening within ourselves, that this is so different and it's so uncomfortable or stimulating. One of the things that came up for me when you were talking about being angry, and then you just mentioned some other things that reminded me of it. I had a mentor years ago. My mentor said, well, he would ask this question. He says, what is the feeling that precedes anger? What is the feeling that always precedes anger? I didn't know the answer at the time. Do you have any idea what that is?
Ooh, is it helplessness?
Yeah,
Yeah.
helplessness, powerlessness. And you mentioned in your most recent comments there this idea that there are things I can't control and that's okay. And when I thought about it, when I think about all the times that I've been angry, it has always been preceded by this almost unconscious sense of helplessness, powerlessness. impotence. I just can't do anything about this. And now I've shifted into this, at least for myself, this victim mode
Hmm.
where I just feel like I'm at the mercy of these vast, uncontrollable forces. The universe is against me. People are against me. Life sucks. Blah,
Hmm.
blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, all of that has been present with me lately. I've been feeling a lot of those things. But I'm
Mhm.
just curious what you've been picking up on, because you said that you're just these times are different, you're feeling things. I'm just curious if there's anything specific with that.
I have this, I guess maybe it's two movements. I feel this draw to really go inward, which is my natural mode. You said, for example, you go out and reach out to people when you're challenged, typically under most circumstances. And I'm the opposite. Whenever I'm challenged or have issues, I almost always draw within. I tend to have a pretty introverted response that way. And so that's happening for me. And one of the things that's different this time around than a lot of prior times when I've been challenged by things. This time around, in the past, what I would do is I wouldn't really do much in terms of trying to do anything or reaching out to people. Now, what I'm really interested in is doing everything I can to get the word out. I've been doing more with regard to marketing the podcast, for example. And even with my soul manifestation series that I'm working on with my friend Elizabeth, I'm really doing my best to do more to help people understand what it is we're doing there and why it's important. It's interesting that I have this strong sense of wanting to be within myself, work my process, clear and cleanse and heal, clean up these things that are going on within me, these things that are coming up. They look like you said, anger, resistance, just unpleasantness, doing that internal personal work myself, but then really wanting to get out there and connect with people in ways that hopefully are helpful to them, to share information. That's something that's a bit different. I mean, these energies have been pouring in for, I mean, I first became aware of them last fall, like around October, kind of a new wave came in, and then they come in and then they recede and then they intensify, and lately this current wave feels pretty intense, particularly over the last several weeks. And what I've noticed is an acceleration. Yeah, I've noticed this acceleration of what I will call the healing spiral.
Hmm.
So I consider all of us to be on a healing journey because of the nature of the harshness of life on this planet at this time. So we're at a certain point and we face a certain challenge. And then that challenge sort of gets resolved. We go through some process and it's not upfront for us. It's in the background or we've forgotten about it. And then time rolls around and then it comes back. And my perception of this process is that we may be tempted to perceive that we are at exactly the same spot we were the last time we dealt with this challenge. Let's say it's anger.
Hmm.
We'll just pick anger. So, okay, a month ago, I was really angry, and then I've come back. Oh, and I'm angry again. But my perception is that each of us is coming at this issue, this challenge that still needs healing from a slightly elevated perspective. So that's why I call it the spiral of healing. So it could be slightly more, or we could have really taken a more elevated arc where when we come back around, we're really from an elevated perspective. So it's not as much of a big deal. So for me, what I saw few months ago was I went through a period where I was pretty sick with this upper respiratory thing for it felt like at least a month or more. And then in the past 2 weeks, it's come back around where I have something very similar, but this time around it's not as intense. I didn't have the sense that it would last as long. And like you with the anger, doing my best not to resist it, to just be okay. It's here. There's no
Hmm.
point in resisting it. I'm just going to do my best to go with this and to allow this process to work itself out, keep doing my best to take care of myself and be patient and kind and gentle with myself and others. to the best of my ability, however imperfectly. And today I still have this upper respiratory thing, but it's a lot less than it was a couple of weeks ago. Whereas last time it seemed to persist for, again, weeks, month more. Yeah, so I feel like these energies, what they're doing is they are accelerating this spiral healing journey, whereas something like that in the past might have taken 6, 9, or 12 months. And I've experienced this go around with this upper respiratory thing in a matter of 2 months or less.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that's part of what's happening is this acceleration and intensification with these energies, which makes the kinds of practices you're doing so important. Taking time for yourself, just being instead of this programmed pseudo reality of doing, that doing is the most important thing, whereas being is more fundamental. So being, and particularly being in connection with life itself, which would be ourselves, source, nature, creation, and when appropriate, other people. I guess that's what you get for that question.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I like what you were saying about the spiral because my therapist has actually used a similar concept with me with a spiral staircase, because I would get so irritated. Oh, this problem, it went away and now it's back, and I feel like I'm at square one. And she would always remind me that it's kind of like spiral, but upwards. Like you have
Hmm.
a different perspective. You're not in the same place just because you have the same problem. And that really changed how I was seeing a lot of the issues in my life. And I think also just from like a spiritual standpoint, that's also very interesting the way you were mentioning it. And also like with the healing that you're talking about. I think part of my frustration that I've been feeling lately is that I feel like I have fallen off a little bit. It dawned on me the other day, like, hey, like I haven't been meditating lately. Just almost like I feel like I'm not healing anymore. Like maybe I was kind of on the right track and now I feel like I've been bounced off. But I'm also trying new things. Like I was like, hey, like let's try going outside and being with nature. So like I don't think I've necessarily been bounced off. I think I'm just maybe on a slightly different track than I was before, but still going towards the same place. That just feels really relevant right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The mind, the material mind, our brains, it loves form. It loves things to look the way that it understands, that it has a sense of control, that it can predict what's going to happen and how things work. And when we enter into a real spiritual journey, like the one that you're on, the forms have to change. You might have engaged in a particular practice in a particular way at a particular time, and you're going through a process of growth and change and healing. And if you really listen to yourself, source, however you think of these things, however you experience them, you're going to make different choices. And spending time in nature is a practice that is likely very important and helpful to you with the intensity of these energies. The thing is, creation, nature, source, everyone and everything in existence, not always people, because people are so challenged by our choices, but pretty much almost everyone and everything else in creation wants to help us. And they are waiting for us to give them permission to help us. So when you go outside and you connect with nature, you're saying to nature, hey, help me out. I can use some help. Even if you're not consciously aware of it, it could even be your body saying, your nervous system, meaning me, you, is really agitated right now, keyed up, and we need to connect with nature so we can get some more regulation, more harmony here. The spiritual journey is always going to change the forms, even as the essence of the spiritual journey carries through, like a through line, like a golden thread. It's always going to be there. And the trick is relaxing our thoughts and judgments about how things should look and be, being kind and gentle with our minds to help them with these distinctions between form and essence. So, it sounds like you've made some shifts in form that still conform to the essence of what it is you're going for. And that's life, that's the spiritual journey, that's what's going to happen for all of us. Things that used to work or that we really focused on, we either let them go, we allow them to change, develop, be different. So, is there anything else that's been coming up for you lately that you want to chat about?
I'm trying to think. My mind just keeps going to current events, and
Hmm.
there's just been a lot that I've been feeling conflicted about. And I think honestly, a lot of the anger I've been feeling has been related to that, but in like a bunch of different ways. And even as we've been talking, my mind has kind of been pulled in that direction. I don't really even know what I would want to say about it. It's just something that's like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm here.
I have some awareness of what's going on in the world. And for me, I feel like I'm pretty at peace with it right now. That could
Okay.
change tomorrow. And I think part of what helps me to be at peace with it is the thing I know is that all of this stuff, this choppiness upon the surface, this chaos, this awfulness is ridiculously temporary.
Mm,
The word that I oftentimes apply to so much of what exists in the fabricated world of human invention is that it is unsustainable,
hmm
that things cannot persist in this way, that there comes a point where a discontinuity is inevitable, that things just cannot keep going on this trend. At some point, something's got to break, something's got to give. And for me, when I think about these things, it's the metaphor of the nightmare. So I remember so many times when I was younger, I would have these nightmares of falling off of a cliff or a waterfall or a monster chasing me. And always right before I hit the rocks or before the monster was about to grab me, I woke up. Be
hmm
like, like, oh, oh, okay. And I
Right.
feel like humanity is with these energies that are intensifying everything. Human beings, we have free will choice, but those choices are largely constrained by our choices in terms of our way of being. So if we have a resistant way of being, within these energies, our tendency is to double down on that resistant way of being. And a resistant way of being inherently makes things worse. When I think about what's happening now, it's like Source pouring out these divine energies upon the planet, human beings responding to them in the ways they are, with many people doubling down on resistance. It's putting us into this accelerated, intensified, collective nightmare space that eventually a huge swath of humanity is going to wake up from the nightmare being like, oh, oh my gosh, that was just a dream.
hmm
And we tend to think of our waking lives and our dream lives as being these two separate, distinct things, like we think about so many things in our existence where we create these separations that don't necessarily exist. It's going to be the same with the collective awakening of humankind from our self-created nightmare, that we're going to realize that all of the stuff we thought was real, all of the stuff we took so seriously, that it was a temporary projection of a resistant human consciousness operating across scales from the individual to the planetary. So I don't know if that makes any sense or if that's helpful, but when you talk about that stuff, that's part of how I think about it. And it gives me peace because the story that I have that makes sense for me right now is that we're just in the beginning stages of really building up the nightmare to the monster is about to catch me wake up stage. And I don't know when that happens. I think we're years out from that, but that's my sense of it. And I guess that's part of what gives me peace with all this stuff because it's so obviously temporary.
hmm
It cannot last. It will not last. And and when I think about the communications and media structures that we have established for amplifying these things and the motivations of those who maintain and sustain these systems. Right now, because fear and resistance is so available, people still feel that they can make the biggest bang for their buck, literally profit is from highlighting and promoting these things, whether it's on social media platforms or more traditional forms of media, so-called news, these kinds of things. And so I don't take most of these things really seriously because of their inherently temporary nature. And then what really helps me not to take them seriously is the fact that we have all of these structures that are specifically designed to amplify that which is worst, whether that awfulness is even actually the case or if it's as bad as they want us to think it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think what's hard for me is like I get the same kind of sense of peace that you were talking about, knowing that it's temporary, but at the same time, I personally struggle with like, but I want it to be over sooner. Like, I want
Mhm.
the good part to
Yeah.
come sooner. What do I do in the meantime? How can I help in the meantime? Because I don't want to just like ignore the bad. And at the same time, I get spiritually, emotionally fatigued pretty easily. And so that's kind of where I always get caught up, a little bit
Mhm.
stuck.
When I think about the history of life on this planet, which we don't know most of it actually, that I kind of take this perspective in that human beings have been on this planet a really long time, and we have seen, our species has seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations over tens of thousands of years. And I'm excited to be alive now because I feel like I'm here on this planet at this time. I actually feel like I chose to be on this planet at this time in order to contribute to and witness something that is really rare in this entire cosmos, which is a planet like ours that has this mixture of responsiveness and resistance, this combination of darkness and light, and to see that planet within a relatively short time scale, talking a matter of decades, transition from what it has been for tens of thousands of years into a very different planet with a species with an elevated consciousness that at this point seems to be absolutely impossible given everything that we're seeing and experiencing and how awful it is. Again, I have this hope that the nightmare that we're co-creating will help us to wake up and come out on the other side and kind of shake our heads. Be like, wait, what? Oh,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be this way. Oh, well, that's exciting. So that's part of what gives me hope is this recognition of timescales that actually there have been times over tens of thousands of years where humanity has basically experienced a reset, which has typically taken our species back, I guess, in terms of a lot of knowledge and wisdom that had been gained by previous civilizations. And this time around, because our species has access to something that it did not have access to in those prior transitions, this awareness of the possibility of communing with the source, that we can actually receive the source's essence into our beings and undergo a fundamental transformation of ourselves into the most loving and divine versions of our beings that was previously unavailable to those prior civilizations. And so all that kind of helps me. And I guess the other part of your question, how can I help? And because of the journey that I've been on, and I think part of it is the fact that I'm maybe I'm more at peace with being selfish and narcissistic than the average bear. But I've I received information many years ago that said that the most important thing that I can do for the world is to focus on my own spiritual growth, development, my own healing journey of change. And so far, I feel that that has been true for me. I think that it may be true for other people because again, we have this programming that says, well, if you're not doing something, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep harping on this being thing that I can't really solve a problem with my doing if my being is not right, if my being is not coming from a place of actual love and care and generosity. And so for me, with my practice, my focus has been on changing myself, on allowing Source to change my being so that I can make fewer contributions to the awfulness on this planet and also to make greater contributions of light and love through my being on this planet. And so I consider this time to be so rich or critical, where I think a lot of people are tempted, like you're saying, I need to do something. I have to do something. And I guess I'm just really inviting folks to ask a different question. How can I be different? How
Mm-hmm.
can I be differently at this time in this space? What practices can I engage in that help me with this process of changing, of transforming my being, the essence of myself, at the very core of my existence, so that instead of me running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to solve the world's problems through doing, what if I allowed myself to come into that deep center of who I really am, that well of light, that soul, that core self, that higher self that is who I am, allow that to be more radiant so that then those qualities, those unique qualities of love and light that exist within myself, so that they are more available to other people, to creation, to even myself, like loving myself and expressing care towards myself. So that's what's coming up for me, when you shared that, because I do think that there's a lot of that. And I think a lot of times because of the fabricated world that we have invented with this focus on doing and separation and resistance, that ideas like being and unity and responsiveness, they get short shrift in the conversation because we've been conditioned to see things in a particular way that actually do not conform to the reality that exists beyond the limited pseudo reality that our species is and continues to perpetuate and co-create.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Wow. Hmm.
And you're doing it. You talking about being with yourself instead of reaching out to other people. That's a being stance. You're already doing in your own way what's required and spending time in nature. That's not about doing. You didn't tell me, "Oh, I'm out there, I'm working in my garden, I'm pulling weeds." Not that there's anything wrong with that,
Mhm.
but you're talking about hanging out with your sycamore tree and feeling the bark and yeah, and that's the thing. We have these overlays related to productivity, and that our productivity has some strange relationship to our worth as human beings. I think I'm seeing a bit more of the insanity of it all.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation I was thinking we might have today was along this realm of reality, that so much that we human beings on this planet at this time, we think it's real. And it's not. It's made up, it's temporary, it has no existence beyond human agreements that these things exist. And yet, when you spend time with yourself, that's something that lasts. That's something that matters, right? You are meant to last. And even nature, creation itself, it is meant to last. It's meant to continue to grow and to live and to thrive and to contribute through its diversity and its beauty and all of this love and light, that is inherently woven into every aspect of creation, and that's not about productivity. It's not about how many oxygen molecules the plant's leaves have produced in the last 30 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. No, so I'm excited. I'm excited for our species to continue this journey of awakening from all of these illusions, all of these temporary constructs and veneers, and for us to move into a place where we have a better sense of who we are and who we are to each other, and even our place, within this cosmic tapestry that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, definitely.
Ah, we look forward to you joining us for the rest of our conversation in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wake Up Call for the Soul with Bill and Claire. May we love ourselves and all more and more with each passing moment. We wish you the very best and highest. Until next time.